Charmed Life Therapy, powerfully and subconsciously changing your life. Hi, it's Anne-Marie from Charmed Life Therapy, and I just wanted to bring you a little recording while I'm staying off camera because I've been keeping an eye on the docket for a few days because I was due to get some of these things unsealed. There was an order the other day, so now there's more extracts from the deposition on the transcript, which is interesting. And I only just hope, because I don't usually do this on my laptop, that this is actually recording and there will actually be something at the end of having read all this. Right, so let's get to it and we'll read these extracts that have come out of the deposition. So there we go. We've got everybody detailed here. So videotaped deposition of Blake Lively, Wednesday, July 30th, 10:15 a.m. Confidential pursuant to protective order. The reporter there, I think Anita Trombetta. So it's held at Wilkie Farr and Gallagher, as we know. And she's a certified shorthand reporter and notary public for the state of New York. And this is the company that did it, Planet Depots. So on behalf of the plaintiff, you have Ezra Hudson was there, Stephanie Reeser of Manat, Phelps and Phillips, and Michael Gottlieb, Kristin Bender, Erin Nathan, Michaela Connolly for Wilkie Farr and Gallagher, Lindsay Strasberg from Sloan, Offer, Webber and Dern. This is all for Blake. On behalf of Wayfarer, you had Brian Friedman, Ellen Garofalo. I can never say her name. Sorry, Ellen. From Liner Friedman, Tattleman Cooley, and we had Summer Benson, Mitchell Schuster, Kevin Fritz from Meester, Seelig and Fine. On behalf of Wayfarer Studios itself, Mitra Ahurian there from Ahurian Law. I don't know if I'm pronouncing Mitra's name right. Could be Mitra. I'm probably sure I'm not pronouncing the surname properly. So for Stephanie Jones, Maron A. Shah, Quinn Emmanuel Urquhart and Sullivan. So, and Jed Wallace's counsel as well, Charles L. Babcock, and some of these are extracts from him specifically, Joel Glover and Jackson Walker. And I really like Jed Walker's team. So there you go, present Justin Baldoni, Steve Sarowitz, Melissa Nathan, Jen Abel, Jamie Heath, and the videographer Enrique Casas or Casas, something like that. So then witness Blake Lively, examination by Attorney Friedman on page 12, Attorney Babcock on page 246, and it runs through the various exhibits referenced within it. So some of those are Jed's there. So that's defendant Jed Wallace and Street Relations Inc.'s notice of deposition of plaintiff. Second amended complaint for SH retaliation, breach of contract, false light defamation and other claims. Exhibit 1051, an email chain. 1048, complaint of employment discrimination before the state of California. 1049, complaint for damages. 1042, memo, cease and desist demand. 1041, email. 1001, lively verified petition for Rule 202 deposition. So proceedings. The videographer. Here begins media number one in the videotape deposition of Blake Lively. Today's date is July 31st and the time on the monitor is 10:15. Goodness me, the videographer Enrique Casas representing Planet Depots, taking place at 787 7th Avenue, New York, New York. And counsel were then asked to voice identified themselves, so it ran through all of them basically and the companies that they worked for. So there we go, that's all of that, including Anita, who was taking the deposition. So the witness will now be sworn in, and then it begins with Attorney Hudson. So we know that's Ezra Hudson. Counsel, before we get started, can we agree that the standard stipulation under FRCP 32D3A will be applied to this case? Attorney Friedman, we can certainly talk about it during the break. Attorney Hudson, Well, it's that all objections except to the form of the question are reserved for trial. Attorney Friedman, I understand that. I'm happy to talk about it while we're off the record. Attorney Hudson, well, Attorney Friedman, I don't think it's going to be an issue. Hudson, okay, so we can agree though that the rule will apply. Friedman, we can definitely agree that we can talk about it for sure, but I want to talk to my co-counsel. Hudson, that's the rule that I'll be functioning under for the course of the deposition unless you disagree. Friedman, okay. And then I also wanted to note for the record that per the protective order in this case, ECF number 125, we're designating Ms. Lively's entire deposition transcript and video, including all testimony and exhibits, as confidential. We reserve the right to modify, elevate, or remove this designation within the time period set forth in the protective order. And I also want to just clarify that everyone in the room has signed the protective order, and everybody just confirmed that was present. Blake Lively called as a witness, having been first duly sworn by a notary public, was examined and testified as followed. So this is Brian Friedman, and this was at 10:18 commencing this portion. Good morning, what's your full legal name? Blake Ellender Reynolds. And what is your date of birth? 25th of August 1987. How long have you been an actress? 21 years. Do you recall the year you started? Professionally, 2004. So question, you agreed to play the role of Lily Bloom in It Ends With Us at the end of 2022, is that correct? Yes. Prior to that time, had you heard about the book with the same title? Prior to agreeing? Yes. So that kind of illustrates the thing about the book. She hadn't really heard of the book before it being suggested to her. So yes was the answer there. About some publications, some things that are tangible, you can read them, and I'm just trying to find out if you're aware of anything that Jed Wallace has published about you. Oh, it's jumped there, hasn't it? Oh, let's go back a minute. I'm doing this along with you. So that's interesting. I wonder what the specific relevance of that portion was. Interesting. So it jumps from 1019 there, where it's clarified. Basically, really, that she heard about the book at the time of agreeing to it, really, almost, isn't it? So then it jumps to 6:47 in the evening. So about some publications, some things that are tangible, you can read them. And I'm just trying to find out if you're aware of anything that Jed Wallace has published about you that you complain about that would be part of a smear campaign. Attorney Hudson, objection. Sorry, I don't think I understand the question, is what Blake responded. I'm a bit unsure whether this is still Brian, this could be Babcock, because we're talking about Jed Wallace. So he clarified the question by the looks of it here. In the law that the thousands of people who are witnessing this deposition practice a lot, there is a thing called libel, which is written defamation, disparagement. And then there is a slander, which is oral defamation or disparagement. So I'm focusing on written. Is there anything you've seen in writing that you believe that Mr. Wallace has authored that is defamatory, disparaging, or says mean things about you? And Blake, that's happening currently? And the question, well, let's start with currently, sure. And Blake answered, currently, I don't read news about me or go on social media about me. So personally, I don't have knowledge, no. And then the question, okay, and that's as of today. And going backward in time, can you identify any written thing that you believe Mr. Wallace published about you that is defamatory, disparaging, in any way offending to you? And Hudson objected there. And then Blake resumed, a specific article or no, I don't know a specific blank. I don't know a specific article. I don't know if the two lines there is just when there's a pause, like a pause for thought or something. Okay. And it could be a post, anything in writing that you can look at it like I'm looking at this screen and reading, and you're not aware of anything that he's authored that you can actually see, whether it's a post, an article, or a video, or something like that, correct? Hudson objected again. And the answer, I can't cite a specific article. My understanding from the documents I received is that he was a part of this campaign which contained a lot of content. But to be able to name one specific article, if that's what you're asking, no. And then the question, well, the questioner, yeah, okay. And you were right to focus on one specific article. And I also wanted to focus on one specific author, which would be Mr. Wallace. And are you aware of any specific article that he authored himself, maybe in conjunction with others, but that he authored himself? And Hudson objected again. And then Blake answered with his name on it. No, I understand Mr. Wallace's work to be quite clandestine, so I'm not aware of anything that has his name on it, no. Then the questioner, how do you know his work was quite clandestine? Answer, that's how it's been described to me by everyone who knows him. That's a rather vague term, isn't it? That everyone who I've spoken with who knows him. It's also what was described in the documents we received, both in the Jones Works documents as well as documents in Discovery. Questioner, who described him to you as quite clandestine? You said that people told you that. Who told you that? Answer, I don't know that those were the words that were used. Questioner, sure. Answer, that was the general sort of descriptor or the general idea. Well, it sounds like what they've read about him in print, doesn't it, almost? Attorney Hudson, and you're excluding. And then Attorney Hudson objected. So I don't know, does that jump there? Because it goes 6:51 to 7:02. Anyway, answer, no, that's not what I'm saying. Questioner, okay, I didn't think so. I just wanted to be clear. All right, I just want to get a timeline of things. So we're still on the question. The production started in early May of 2023, is that right? Of the movie It Ends With Us. And then the answer Blake gave, the filming itself started, I believe, yeah, in May of 2023. She doesn't sound at all sure of anything, I don't think, when you read this, not even of the dates of things like the fundamental things like start of filming or specific dates. It's like she's, like because you would think that if this was happening to you, that all the dates would stick in your mind. You talk to a lot of watch a lot of content creators doing this. The names of the dates of and times and the timeline is like drilled into their minds. A lot of people doing this, um, know the specific dates of specific things. It's like, if you, I don't know all of them, but like the first one that pops into my mind is supposedly, was it 22nd of May when the dance montage scene was filmed, But Blake, all of that to do with Jed there, it's very vague. It's like she's not on it at all. It's like things have been told to her, or she's read things, or other people have read things and shared them with her, which is quite interesting, and it kind of paints her in a kind of a different light in a way, as if somebody is influencing this and has, I'm not saying done this to her because I don't mean, you know what I mean, I hold her responsible for her own actions, but is she out of a depth to my mind? Because it seems like this is a lot of this. She's definitely not the mastermind, is she, kind of thing? That's the feeling I'm getting just from these few extracts. So, questioner again. Okay, and was that in California? Answer, no, it was in New Jersey. Questioner, oh, I thought everything was in California. I don't know if they're being facetious there because it's like pointing out the difference. Well, surely when you're, enacting California law, all of this took place in California. I imagine that's what the implication is there by the questioner. So he continues, okay. And then there was a writer's strike that stopped it in June of 2023, correct? And Blake answers correct. Questioner, and then production resumed maybe on January 5th of 2024. Is that right? That sounds correct. Now that would be drilled into her head, you would think, wouldn't you? Because wasn't that the day after the big meeting in the penthouse? So questioner, okay, was that also in New Jersey or was that in California? Answer, Blake's answer, that was in New Jersey. We shot a couple of days in California at the end. Questioner, okay, was the movie shot anywhere other than New Jersey or California? Answer, I believe they did additional photography and wide shots and inserts, not inserts, but wider shots of scenery in other locations. Questioner, do you know where those other locations were? Answer, I don't. Questioner, you weren't involved in them, they just shot them other places. Answer, yes. I imagine a lot of that is about the jurisdictional issue and getting some clarity on that. That's my imagination or my conclusion. Questioner, okay, great. And then Attorney Babcock says, Joel, I need 1055. Exhibit 1055 marked for identification by Attorney Babcock. So, questioner. And this is funny. Last night we received a second amended complaint, which is literally what happened, isn't it? She purposely dropped the second amended complaint on the night before the deposition so that they wouldn't have a lot of time to look at it. So he's saying, and it's a big, thick old thing, and I'm not, and I presume that's a pause. And what I've done is to redline the changes, so it's not how it was filed, it's just how it looks now. And I have a couple of questions about it. Not a whole lot, but if you'll turn to paragraph 332, which you'll find on page 118, the second amended complaint, which this is. Have you ever seen it before, by the way? And that, again, that's interesting, isn't it? It's like, have you actually seen this thing that has been filed in your name? So it kind of reads to me this like they were kind of picking up along the way, the attorneys, that she's not really got a finger on the pulse of this thing that's been done in her name. You know, and if she's genuinely not looking at her social media or the press that is being laid out about her, then who's feeding this lawsuit? Is it the attorneys? Is it Ryan? Who, you know what I mean? Why why is it being portrayed in court like, she's the victim of constant harassment if she's not actually looking at this stuff? Somebody's feeding it to her or using aspects of it in order to feed a narrative or something like that. So it jumps there from 1905 to 1909. So then the questioner is resuming, what is astroturfing? And Blake answered, my understanding of astroturfing is when a conversation or sentiment is inorganic and unlike a grassroots marketing campaign. It is fake in that it is a sentiment that is where there is a particular person, group, or organisation behind it. Questioner, okay. And you say in this complaint that the coordinated astroturfing campaign to discredit and bury Ms. Lively. What do you mean by bury you? The astroturfing campaign was meant to bury you. And Hudson objects there. Questioner, do you know what that means? What is meant by that? And Hudson objected. Blake answered, I do. Questioner, and what is meant by that? Answer, they were descriptives that were used by Justin Baldoni, Jennifer Abel, and Melissa Nathan. The term bury. She wants, he wants to feel like she can be buried, so she's referenced the text message quite well there. And the questioner, okay, and then Blake answered, and Melissa Nathan said, we can bury her. Questioner, okay. Blake, so that's why that word was chosen. Questioner, this is going to seem like a facetious or silly question, but you didn't take that to mean they were going to physically bury you, just they were going to reputationally bury you. Is that how you took it or not? And Blake said, when they said that, I felt reputationally. It, this raises to me is, has she been actively taking part in actions that have been taken on her behalf since the bloody CRD complaint? Because she's never got over the bury her thing. It would seem like from this, that's still the gist we're getting from this short bit is that still the bit that's bothering her. And the things that happened at the premiere, I guess, the things that Steve Sarowitz was alleged to have said. So then it continues again at 7:11. When Steve Sarowitz said that there would be two dead bodies by the time that he was done with us, yeah, I considered that that might be literal. So she generally, genuinely, supposedly thought there was a chance that Steve Sarowitz meant that he would literally unalive them. Questioner, you thought you might be in physical jeopardy? And the answer, you, as a mother, you feel like anything is, could be possible in those moments. It's terrifying. Now that sounds quite paranoid, doesn't it? And delusional. I think maybe it's easy for me to say because I'm not a mother, but I mean, it's a funny thing to say as a mother because nobody's referencing her kids would be two dead bodies. So it seems a wee bit over the top to me. You mothers out there, you might have a different interpretation than me, but would you really think that a film producer, it's kind of like a fear that's put into your head, that one. It's as if somebody's going, this guy's a billionaire, he can do anything. And it's like, don't forget they said they're going to bury you. It's like a fear, whether it's self-created or whether somebody's put it in her head or she is a bit of a conspiracy theorist or something like that. It's interesting, isn't it? So, questioner, yeah, putting aside the physical jeopardy, was the reference to burying and two dead bodies inclusive of reputational injury or not? And Hudson objected, and Blake answered, I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. When Miss, and is that, so I think it's jumped again there because we've gone from 7:12 to 7:21. So then it picks up again. When Mr. Friedman allegedly made these defamatory comments on behalf of Mr. Wallace, did he make them prior to the lawsuit, to that lawsuit, which has now been dismissed, being sent to New York? And Hudson objected. Questioner, how about that? And Hudson objected again. And then Blake's answer, my understanding is that Mr. Friedman's harmful statement started as soon as the first case started, which would be mine, so December of 2024. Questioner, okay. The premiere of It Ends With Us, the film, was on August 6th of 2024, is that right? Blake answered, I don't know the exact date, but that sounds correct. That sounds really fishy, doesn't it? If she's not remembering like key milestones like that, unless she's just very nervous. Questioner, okay. Attorney Babcock, have you got 1051? I may have a document that might help. The witness, thanks. Attorney Babcock, you can attach that one. Exhibit 1051 marked for identification by Attorney Babcock. So the question at 10:51, if you go to the fourth page, next to last page, it says Tuesday, August 6th, 7 p.m. It ends with us premiere. Location, AMC, Lincoln Square, 1998 Broadway, New York. Does that refresh your recollection as to when the premiere was? And then she's answered, sorry, I wasn't there yet. She must have been flicking through the pages. This is 8981, Tuesday, August 6th. It ends with us premiere. Yes. Questioner. Okay. And the film's release was on August 9th, is that right? And she answered, in the United States, yes. It released at different times in different international territories. But for the sake of our conversations today, when I've talked about the day the film was released, I was talking about August 9th. Questioner, okay. And you testified earlier that that was when you first became aware of the negative argument or the negative article about you, right? Hudson objected. Then she's answered, not an article, no. It felt, no, not one article. So she couldn't pinpoint one specific thing that bothered her. She just was aware of growing sentiment, I guess. So I think that is the end of that bit, other than the stenographer or the shorthand typewriter just um stating that the testimony was taken by her, just making it all legal and everything. So I'm just going to stop the share there. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to bring that to you quite quickly. I think it's quite interesting and quite enlightening that I think it paints her almost a bit being detached from her own lawsuit. What do you think? What do you think would you suggest that you picked up from that? It's interesting to get this perspective of it, of the deposition, isn't it? And to get that more insight. It kind of humanizes it as well, because we've all spent so long looking at the documents. We've got a bit disconnected from it. So I think that's really helpful to get some deposition transcript come through. But from that, I do get the sense of she's a little bit hands off of her own lawsuit. And a lot of the outrage, if she's genuinely not looking at a lot of stuff online, where is the outrage coming from? The continued outrage begs the question if it's the lawyers, doesn't it? Who's feeding it? So, anyway, that's enough for one day, one evening. But do please drop me a comment or a like. And I hope you found that interesting. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening. And this has been Anne-Marie of Charmed Life Therapy. Thanks for watching. Drop a like and subscribe, and please check out the description box. There's often free resources there.